Hello viewers, this is Wolf here with another figure unboxing and review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Capcom Figure Builder Creators Model Glavenus model. So Glavenus, monster that I finally got to experience in Iceborne, so I'm pretty hyped to get a model of him at last. So this is actually a re-released version of this model, so I guess this released prior. They just made it available again, so I guess just jumping into this, just taking a look at the box here. So of course we got Glavenus there, you can't really see him, but of course we'll jump into that a little bit later. Just panning around to the box, just looking at the different pictures here, just showing a side view there of Glavenus, and then of course here kind of highlighting the various different parts of him, of course the tail, which is like his most defining feature. But yeah, that's pretty much the box, so let's jump into getting him out of the box. Alright. Okay. Now just get him out of the plastic. And here we are. This is actually much smaller than I was expecting him to be, especially after seeing the Nergigante. But then again, Nergigante I believe was the largest of this line anyway. But yeah, just taking a look at this, the color detail on this Glavenus model is just very impressive. Just taking a look onto his tail right here. Honestly, the tail, I'm very impressed with how this looks. There's just so much detail going through the tail. Everything from the little grooves on the inside, like the cracks going down the center of the tail, of course the various jagged edges, how just very raw this looks too. Like there's so many divots, so many like worn and cracked and fractured spots on this. Of course the jagged edges, how worn down everything looks. This is actually really cool, and just seeing the color variation here too. There's a lot of interesting color variation. You can see right here from the tip, there's like a very shiny, and it has like a very like metallic-y finish on this as well too, which kind of adds to the color, which I think is kind of cool. So you can see that we have a nice bright, it's almost kind of like a silverish blue up here, which kind of goes down. We have like a purple right in the center here, very metallic, very shiny and reflective. Of course, these dark spots where I guess is kind of where the less sharpened parts of the tail is right in here, so these little dark spots. Of course, as this blue section goes down, you can actually see that it kind of turns into a bit of a silver as it hits right about this area. But yeah, the tail is honestly very impressive in terms of just colors and the details, like the realistic details on it, I suppose. So taking a look at Glavenus's face here, you can see that you know, we have that level of quality here, which is very typical from this line. You can see the mouth is very, very clearly detailed. You can see like the individual teeth, the tongue very, very detailed. Of course, you can kind of see like the membranous skin on the side there around the mouth, and then up here, you can just barely see Glavenus's eye, but like right there, you can see that little blue spot there with a little black line. His eye is there. Of course, it's kind of hard to notice, but that's just mainly due to Glavenus's design anyway. So, you know, he has these two big horns just right above his eye up here. And of course, the coloration on here is nice. It's not as metallic-y as the tail is, but of course, I think Glavenus is just like that normally anyway. So taking a look at here, you can just see the design here. Very sharp and very spiky. A lot of edges, a lot of points on Glavenus here. Down to his feet, you can of course see the claws are very nicely detailed here. This kind of reminds me a little bit of like the T-Rex model on this as well. Of course, we have some little spikes kind of coming out of the heel right there, which is nice. You can see a bit of muscle right here, just as the leg kind of curls. So that's actually really cool. And then of course going around, you know, we have this cool spiky design that I really like from Glavenus, where, you know, we have these spikes that kind of gradually get bigger and bigger, and like the angles on them are really nice. Like they kind of go flat out and then kind of strike straight up towards the end, which is pretty cool. And then of course we get to like the very big ones here just before the head, which is actually really interesting. And if you take a look at Glavenus's hands here, of course we have the little stubby T-Rex claws or whatever. It seems like Glavenus just has about 3 fingers, it seems. So yeah, that's kind of interesting right there. I like the base design on this as well. Of course they really use this so they could kind of prop the tail up. So I just angle this down a little bit so you can see just right over here. I kind of like this jutting rock design. So of course he's standing on this platform here, but then at the back you can see that the rock kind of juts straight up, and then it's kind of there to kind of support the tail a little bit. But it's nice. I kind of like this pose as well too, just because it seems like he's getting ready to do a sword slash with his tail right here in this pose. And I kind of like how at the forefront of this model, the tail is kind of like the most prominent part, which again is the most defining feature of Glavenus. So I like how if you have him facing forward like this, the tail is like the most prominent thing that you'll see here. So I actually really like this pose. It does cover up a good deal of his body if you do have it facing like the most forward, I suppose, like this. But I feel like the most pronounced features of his body are definitely visible here. So of course you have the tail. You can actually see most of the stand here, and of course most of the rock pillar stretching out in that direction. But then of course you have the largest spikes right here in plain sight, just before it meets the tail. Right here you have these spikes, and of course you can see his head. So I kind of like this pose here. Shows off pretty much as you'd want to see of Glavenus here. So, you know, this is pretty cool. Just as a size comparison, I'm just going to get a couple of my other figure builder models real quick and then just compare them with Glavenus. Alright, so here just showing a quick size comparison between a few of the figure builder models that I have here. So you can see that just in comparison to Nergigante here, Nergigante is definitely a lot larger. Of course, I believe he is the largest of the models that this company has made so far. But you can see that the height very significantly taller than Glavenus here. When you actually compare it to a few of the others, I'd compare Glavenus a little bit to Velkhana here. You can see that they're kind of roughly around the same size. Of course, Velkhana has that wingspan over it, but you know, in terms of just the sheer area that Glavenus takes up, it's a little bit wider than Velkhana, that I'd say. And yeah, if we compare it to Tigrex over here, of course Tigrex. So these two are roughly around the same when it comes to the area that they take over, like the width that they take over here. So these two models, very similar. Definitely more of a wide figure than it is a tall figure. So that's pretty interesting. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in regards to this Glavenus model here. And if I were to go on to my final thoughts, honestly, this is a very nice looking model. Like, again, there's not really a whole lot that I can really say that I don't like about this model. Like, it's very typical of the Capcom figure builder line where they put a lot of attention to detail on these models, especially with how large they are as well. Honestly, I think my most favorite parts of Glavenus here is definitely the tail. I really love the very shiny colors that they have going down it. It really stands out from the rest of the model, which is really nice. And then just the base as well too. I really like the way that the base is designed here, especially with the sharp rock that you see jutting out, which kind of just props up the tail at the end there. Really nice looking model for sure. And of course, like the different colors, you know, like the reds, how like the reds go kind of shift into like the darker blues on like as it goes to the spikes. That's honestly really cool as well too. So like visually, I really like this model. Like color wise, and then down to the details, again, it goes without saying, the amount of detail going through the entire body, but mainly through the tail, is very impressive. I also like the stand. Like I said before, the stand is very nice. Pretty small stand, but it's nice how they utilized it for the length of the tail. And then of course I like the pose of this model. Like I said before, like they pretty much showed everything that you would want to see on Glavenus in this pose. The tail is like the most the most, I guess, the prominent part of his body that you'll see when he's facing forward, and then of course you see like the large, very defined spikes down the midsection of the body, and of course you see the face. So the pose is honestly a very well chosen pose that they went with when they designed this model. So honestly, if you guys are looking for a Glavenus model, you guys are curious about the quality of the Capcom figure builder line, I'd say that this is definitely a very safe purchase. I'm really satisfied with this, and it's of course going to go with my collection of other Monster Hunter stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about with this. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys found it informative. There's definitely going to be more Monster Hunter content coming in the future, so I hope you guys stay tuned for that. But for now, I hope you guys stay safe. I hope you guys have a good day or good night, depending on where you are, and I will see you all later.